So first are the questions that you ask, and we have 3 questions. I added some sub questions underneath just for context and detail, but those may be different depending on your organization. So the first question you need to ask the IT people is, if we're attacked, how long would we be down? So you think, well, that's a simple question, but it's not often asked, to be honest. And if you get the answer to this and it's satisfactory and aligned with your business goal, you've come a long way, because this breaks down into a whole lot of other questions. And of course, you got to identify the different systems that you have. Email may be critical, absolutely critical, but maybe the files can wait, if you're down. Also, executives should ask, what's involved with me? What do I need if we're breached? What do I need to do? Who do I need to call? What are the steps that we need to take? The second important question to ask is, are our systems and software up to date and equipped to protect us? Instead of asking, hey, have we been patched, or do we have security updates, or any of those kind of questions, just say, are we up to date? Are there better products today than we bought 3 or 4 years ago? And the answer to that's probably yes. Are applications updated for bugs and vulnerabilities? That's a business question, right? And do we have any network equipment, gear that's no longer under warranty? Very simple questions. Those are sub questions to, are we up to date? So do we have a documented plan of action in case something happens? You'd be surprised at how many companies don't. And is it documented? Is it immediately available? Do we need outside resources? One outside resource you may need is a lawyer, for example. You may need IT resources, special skills. And certainly you might need your cybersecurity insurance people to be involved. So you need a plan that says, how do we do this? And what do we do? What are the roles and responsibilities of all the different people? For example, who notifies your clients? When? There's so many questions to ask, but the main question is, do we have a documented plan? All right, so now we have the questions. So the next thing is the objectives. So as a business leader, you've got to define the objectives. We think there are 3 most important objectives. First, you define the acceptable downtime in case of a cyber breach, period. It's like the IT people shouldn't be able to tell you, well, we'll be down for 4 hours, or we'll be down for 2 days. It's like, you need to set the standard for that. And you have to think about the different systems. Like I said, maybe email can be down for a couple hours, but your CRM can't, your Salesforce can't. You can identify manual workarounds. If everybody's, stuck and the systems aren't running, can we use paper files? Can we do things in a different way? And so the other thing is that IT can't do is understand the financial implications of downtime. You know that as a CEO, as a CFO, but the IT people, it's not like they're thinking in those terms. Second important objective is to prioritize the criticality of your business information. So you know this better than your IT people. So, be sure that the order of the system's recoveries is prioritized. Like, you wouldn't want, your least needed system to come up first. You need to define, hey, we have got to have our production system. That's number 1. Get that up even before email. Okay, identify what information needs the highest level of protection. Here again, where's your personal information? Where's the information that you keep that's most important to your business? What is that? You need to define that and be sure it's in the loop when you make these decisions. Is any critical data temporarily exposed during the recovery process? This is kind of important, because a lot of times if IT runs a backup, is that information as it's being restored available to people that it shouldn't be inside your organization, especially personal information or client information. Third most important objective is to define acceptable liability to your employees, your vendors, and your customers. It's like, this is so important. You've got to think through it and understand, what's okay, and most of it isn't. How do you reestablish a relationship with a customer when you've had a lack of service? What do you need from your vendors? So, because we talk about this a lot in the other webinars we've done, that your entire supply chain is at risk if you're breached. You need to understand what impact that has on your employees and your vendors, customers. So any private information vulnerable to be stolen. And a lot of people kind of overlook this, and now I think there's going to be 18 states that will actually come in and fine big numbers if, data about people and customers is released. And so again, I said, have a clear plan for communicating the breach. Who needs to know? When do they need to know it? That's really, really important. So those are the 3 business objectives. So here are the 3 next steps, that if you take these steps, you're on the right path. First of all is a vulnerability assessment, where you identify gaps and come up with an improvement plan. A lot of times this should be conducted by an independent, unbiased third party. You do that in accounting, you have an outside auditor. Once a year, you have somebody come in, and not to make sure that, there's a problem or somebody stealing something. You just want to know that people aren't making mistakes, were things identified, were things categorized the way that they should be. Same for IT. So ask yourself, do you have the time, expertise, and resources to do this? We find that most IT departments are extremely busy. And what's important tends to be what's urgent. But what's important to business continuation is kind of long term. It's really important, but it's never on the front burner. There's so many front burner things that come up that a lot of times the IT people don't have time for the long range implementations. And second step you need to take is the security incident plan. We just talked about that. It's like, you need to document your policies and procedures in the case of an event. So, are there industry guidelines and procedures that you can follow? If you're a government contractor or in a financial industry, there are industry standards that you need to follow. There are compliance issues. So there are a lot of people out there who are telling you what you need to have planned and what to do in an incident. What people besides the IT department need to have roles in the plan? We talked about this a little bit, but if you have somebody that's responsible in marketing for letting people know, putting out emails to clients, to vendors, all of those kinds of things, you need to have that in the plan. And is the plan updated and tested? A lot of times people will pull out a plan. Yeah, we've got that, it's documented, and it's a static document. It hasn't been changed. And so, it needs to be regularly updated and even tested. Third next step is to have a roadmap for improvement. And we'll talk about this later in the presentation. You need to develop milestones and quarterly goals, just like you would in managing anything else in your business. You need to have realistic timelines for implementation of the recommendations. Things take longer than they normally, than you want, especially when it comes to IT. You need to have a regular cadence of meetings for accountability and roadblocks. So once you're going through the process of improvement, that involves your entire company. Let's say you have to have a better password policy, that there are people who don't have to change their passwords. You find out that in the assessment. So, just getting people to adhere to a new password policy, that's a lot of work. People are very resistant to new procedures when it comes to security. And then you need to dovetail the plan with the budget. Obviously, you got to be able to pay for it. You got to understand where the cash is coming from and when you have to pay for certain things. So there you go. Vulnerability assessment, security incident plan, and a roadmap for improvement. That'll put you on the right track.